Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Bravo Music Academy. It's a little later than we normally would have our Teacher Tip Tuesday, but that's what happens in recital season. And that is what we are talking about today. I'm Miss Christy, the owner here at Bravo Music Academy. I also teach piano and voice. And we're going to be starting a couple new programs soon, so I'll be running some of that. I'm very excited. We'll share more about that another time. But I am super thirsty today, so I got my water here, and I'm going to take sips throughout, and I'm going to do that right now first. Okay, so if you joined us last week, you know that we have started a 5-week series about recital readiness, preparing yourself and preparing your pieces for the recital. If you were able to catch us live last week, that's awesome. Thanks so much. If you're live with us right now, send a little message to me. Give me a thumbs up or a wave, say hello. If you're catching us on the replay, please say hello and let me know you're catching on the replay. I always like to go back and look at what everybody has had to say. I've had a few people private message us at the Academy as well, so thank you for those messages. It really is encouraging to know that there are people out there who are enjoying these. So let's dive right on in. We are in week 2. Last week, week 1, we talked about getting to know your music and the practice steps that you would use at the various levels of musicianship to get to know your music and what that means. Today, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about making it musical. So we've learned the notes, we've learned the rhythms, we know pretty much what we're doing throughout the entire piece. Now we are moving on to making it sound like real music and not just notes on the page. And really, the ultimate goal of music is to share the joy and beauty of it, and what better way to do that than through performance. So one of the first things that you can do to make your piece more musical is to follow the dynamic markings. The dynamics, just for those who aren't familiar with them, piano is soft, mezzo piano is medium soft, mezzo forte is medium loud, and forte is loud. For beginners, you will have primarily just piano and forte. For the more intermediate and early advanced students, you will have more than that. You'll have crescendos, diminuendos, you'll have pianissimo, fortissimo. You already know that. I'm throwing out some musical words that might confuse some of you, but we'll get into some of those in future Teacher Tip Tuesdays. So right here, I have a little piece called the Hurdy-Gurdy. It's the street organ. And if we look at the very beginning, you'll see that there is a forte marked. So that means that I would start that piece loudly. And then in the second line, we have a change here at measure 5, mezzo forte. So I would just play that a little softer, but then I'd bring it way down here in measure 6, very suddenly from that medium loud right away to that piano, and then right back up again. So this little piano here is probably going to be an echo, since it's just that one measure. And when we do echoes, that really creates a really nice sound going on in the piece. We have our mezzo forte, and then we crescendo to a big dramatic ending there at the forte with our crescendo into the forte, and a nice little tremolo right there. So a tremolo is another thing that you may not necessarily have added in week 1. A tremolo is just a shake, so you're alternating between the E and the C here. And I don't know how every teacher teaches that actually. The way I teach it is you just alternate really quickly with a nice, relaxed, loose wrist. Some might use fingers, and depending on I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong direction there. Depending on your stretch, you might be okay with that. That's not how I teach it. But I do teach that right away at the very beginning in week 1. If you did not do that in week 1, do it this week. It'll make it more musical. The next thing that we can add are articulations. And the articulations very simply are how we play the notes that we're playing. So if we're playing them smoothly and connected, we're we call that legato in music. If we're playing them shorter or detached, we call that staccato. And in this piece, we do have both legato and staccato notes all over the place. And even between the two hands, we have that going on there. So you could add that. Then there's also the tempo marking changes within the piece. And I have a piece here that I started practicing a few weeks ago. Yeah, just a couple weeks ago, I started practicing this. It's a Chopin nocturne. I don't want to bend the book back, so I'm going to be kind of bouncing back and forth between this. But within it, I mean, there's a lot of articulations, there are a lot of dynamics, but there's also pedal. And there's actually two ways that you can see pedal markings, and I'm just going to show you this one way. So that right there, that means you press the pedal down, and that one means you release the pedal. In some of the more beginner and early intermediate, you will see pedal markings that look like this. So you press the pedal down, you hold it down and hold it down and hold it down until you see the line go back up again, and that's how you know when to release. So if you have an added pedal, this week is the great time to do that. It will very, very dramatically change the sound of your piece for sure. The other thing you can start doing is playing with your tempos if that's appropriate. If you have a piece that's rubato, add rubato to it. When we're learning music, we want to keep everything nice and structured at the very beginning. As we get to know the piece, that's when we can start playing around with things. And the last and final, this is a little bit shorter. The last and final are any ornaments that you have not added so far. So in this piece, I start with all of my ornaments, but if they're new for you, then you wouldn't start with them. You would just start with your notes and then add them later. So here I have a little turnaround going on. There is a trill somewhere here. I'm going to stand up for you. There it is. There's a trill on that second page. So if you haven't already added your ornaments to it, add your ornaments, and you will have a highly musical piece that you're going to be working on. So I hope those of you who are following along, I know I have a couple of students who are in the process of learning their pieces, and they actually are on track with everything we're doing in this video series here for you. So if you are following along and you're practicing along, this week you're going to add your dynamics, you're going to add articulations, you're going to add any tempo changes or rubato that need to happen. You are going to make sure that your pedal is clean. You're going to add any ornaments and tremolos, trills, all of that stuff. And that is it. Can you believe it? That's probably like the shortest Teacher Tip Tuesday we have had in a really long time. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all have a wonderfully musical week. And keep practicing, and we'll see you right back here next week. Have a great one.